Hello guys, thank you for joining me to this speed session on ACL injury in badminton. Is it a problem and can we prevent it from happening? So this is today's topic, ACL injury in badminton. Look at the left leg. This is a typical injury situation in around the head side. If you look at Carolina Marin here, doesn't look that bad, but look at her right knee, her non-dominant leg, where she suffers an ACL injury. So, is ACL injury actually a problem? Well, the literature doesn't give us the answer, but we have looked at it in Denmark, and we have found that there's approximately 5 out of 1,000 badminton players who suffers an ACL injury each year. So it is a problem also for badminton players. It's maybe not as big as a problem as in football and in handball, but definitely a problem that we need to take care of. Then what is worrying is that when you look at this diagram, that the red columns are the females and the blue columns are the boys, and you actually see it's much more dangerous to be a girl playing badminton than being boys. So they have more injuries than boys, and we need to find out how come is that. And then another fine, interesting study by Johan Tan shows that 90 players in the top 200 in the world ranking over the last 20 years have suffered an ACL injury. So it is a problem in elite players, and among them also, you know, Carolina Marin, you know Li Shuri, the 2 former Olympic gold medalists. So it is a big problem, but it's only a problem if they take them out of competition and if it's a serious injury. And is this a serious injury? Johan has interviewed these 90 players who have suffered this ACL injury, and 87 completed the survey, 43% from Asian countries, 41 European countries, and some of the players were excluded for different reasons, but all in all 66 players were included in this study representing 32 countries, and the mean age was 23 years, and the mean world ranking was 70, and it was mainly the non-dominant leg which was affected. And what he found was that 86% of these athletes, they wanted to return to badminton, and of these 57 players, 84% return to badminton. Is that good? It seems quite fair, and if you compare it to other elite sports, it's almost the same. There are studies showing that 83% gets back to playing their sport after an ACL injury. So that's pretty okay. There was no significant difference between age, sex, discipline, or world ranking at the time of injury. A worrying thing about this cohort is that they went back after 423 days, and that's a bit more than other sports where the mean time is 10 months. So why that is, we don't know. We need to look into that. But then a very splendid thing done by Johan was that he looked at the return to performance, because one thing is getting back to badminton, but we would like to know, do they actually achieve the same performance as they had before the injury? And Johan here, he had some criteria where you needed to get back in the same world ranking, or at least 10 spots less or higher, to be able or to fulfill the criteria of returning to performance. And when we look at that, it's only 50% who actually return to performance. And now it's suddenly not so good anymore, and actually it shows that it's quite a devastating injury also for badminton players if only every second get back to performance. And again, no significant differences between sex, age, world ranking, and origin as well. So this is for elite players, but I know some of you guys, you also coach sub-elite players and maybe also recreational players. And how does it look here? Yeah, we looked at a very big cohort in Denmark, and this was recreational players and tournament players. And here we found that only 63% they were actually able to return to badminton, 44% on the same level. But if you look at return to performance, which again is the most interesting part, only 19%. And here we had a bit other criteria. So we asked the players, were you able to reach the same performance, meaning that you could move as fast, having the feeling that you played almost as good as before? So only 19%. And then you can say, yeah, but what about the tournament players, the young tournament players? Did they do better? No, they didn't do better. And that's also worrying. So even though that they are younger and they may be more interested in getting back, they only succeeded getting back to performance in 20% actually. So now we know the problem, how big the problem is. Can we then prevent it? Well, again, we don't know much about it, but there's a researcher from Japan who has studied the injury mechanism, and they found in 20 players, a small cohort, not elite players, but a mixed of tournament players and recreational players, that women were at higher risk. It happened in the backhand side mainly, in jumps and also in lunges. So 20 players, is that representable for the rest of the badminton community? Maybe not. Then we have looked at videos in the internet, and we only found less than 10 videos. So is that representative? Maybe not. So Johan, he asked the elite players, and I asked all the Danish players about how they injured themselves during their badminton, and what Johan found was that it's more often that it happens in a match. That's maybe logical. They move faster, and so they are more at risk in match, and it happens in the later part of the set, so meaning that exhaustion might play an important role here. And then it's for the elite players mainly in the backhand side, and it's after when they land after a jump that it happens. So in the recreational players and the sub-elite players, it's a bit different. Here on the figure to the left, you can see the dark purple showing that the dominant leg, and the light purple showing the non-dominant leg. And in the backhand side, it's mostly the non-dominant leg, but we actually see as many in the forehand side, and here it's the dominant leg, and that's important and differs from the study by Kimura. On the figure to the right, we have the brown-yellow color here representing the tournament players, and the darker color representing the recreational players. And here you see that the tournament players, they get the injury mainly on the back court, and it's around the head corner, but they also get some in the forehand corner. And then we also saw in this study that lunge at the net and at the baseline area are also frequent movements leading to an injury, and that differs a little bit from the elite players. So again, scissor kick jump in the backhand side is typical, but also the forehand jump landing on the dominant leg is a typical injury situation. So now we know a little bit about the movements. Can we then prevent it? yeah, we can't wait for badminton studies to come out, so we need to learn from other sports. And luckily, there has been some nice studies in handball and football and other sports, and they have actually showed that you can prevent this ACL injury from happening. If you do a good neuromuscular program, if you do strengthening, if you do a change of technique, you can actually prevent some of the injuries from happening. And what is quite interesting is that in the study period they reduced the injury incidence, and when they stopped doing the neuromuscular training, the ACL injury incidence went high again. So this actually works. It really works. And another study also showing that compliance with preventive training, it works. It can reduce the injury. And it also looks as if there's a dose-response relationship. The more neuromuscular training you do, the less risk you have. So, coaches, you have to convince the players to do this training. And you also need to give them time to do it. It is important. And then we know from other studies that the ACL is more at risk if you land on a stiff knee, if you land on an almost fully extended knee. And the handball players, they have shown that. So they have learned their players to land a bit deeper. So meaning that instead of landing on an almost full extended knee, they land on a more high flexed knee. And that may also go for badminton. We don't know yet, but that if you see at Carolina here getting injured, almost fully extended knee. If we could learn some of the players to land in a more flexed position, it may improve and prevent the risk of injury. Then we know from other studies that a high activation in the medial hamstrings is very important. And also may prevent some of the injuries. And here we know that there are some specific exercises that actually improves this activation in the medial hamstring. And among them, the kettlebell swing, as you see here to the right, and the Nordic hamstring, easy to incorporate in the training. And they may help preventing some of the ACL injuries. And then lastly, if you see at Carolina, here in this position, her trunk is very much leaned towards the side, and we know that trunk stability is a place where we need to work on. We also know that that when the injury happens, it often is in an internal position of the femur. It's internally rotated, and if you have strong gluteus muscles, then you may be able to reduce the risk of this internal rotation. So you need to train trunk stability, you need to train the glutes as well. So this was before the injury happened. So if the injury has happened, can we do anything? Yeah, we know from the Johan's study that the players who got back to performance, they actually had surgery earlier than the other group. So that may be an important factor. And we also saw that the people returning to performance, they were doing more rehab pre-surgery. So that may be somewhere we can target. But for you coaches, it's important to know that this is a very vulnerable period for the player. It's devastating to have this injury. And it looks also in the study by Johan as if the players getting back to performance, they had better support, better mental coaching. So here you can really make a difference by not just keeping them away from the training. You need to support them, you need to mentally help them and nurse them. So that's very important. So to round this up, ACL injury is a big problem, and we need to take it serious. Only 50% get back. We may be able to prevent some of the injuries if we do a good neuromuscular training, change a little bit the technique, do some strength training. And then a very important thing for you guys, if it happens, you need to support these players mentally. It's so important. So, and again, injury prevention starts early in life. Thank you very much.